Hello. 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 Is there anybody there? Hello. Hello. Hey guys. So, what are you guys up to? What sort of wonderful hijinks have you brought about in your life? You lively, lively bunch. Nobody here but us rats. It's rats, it's the rats. Dumpster diving as usual. With all of you. Welcome, schizoids from around the world. Welcome to whatever this little show of mine is. Little stream. I'm a streamer, guys. I quit my job to stream. That'll never happen. Nobody cares about the subject. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. It's funny, I'd probably be a more successful streamer if I wanted to be. That's not really the goal. The only reason I would want any success is so I could, spread the word on the ideas I'm constantly trying to kind of push and talk about. That's about it. Like, if I was focusing on some of my hobbies and interests and other type of shit, I could probably, like, I don't know, triple my viewership or something. But that shit is useless to me. Like, that doesn't accomplish anything. So I'm gonna stick to my small audience of zoids out there in the void. Prefer it. I don't know how I'd feel about an influx. I mean, I can't imagine, considering the topic, that there ever would be, but who knows, right? What if somebody, like, really huge, like, what's that one guy? He's pretty cool, though. Healthy gamer doctor guy, right? Hey, Solar, it's been a while. What if, like, the healthy gamer guy had me on for, like, to talk about schizoid stuff? Like, maybe that would, like, net me, like, what, 100 more schizoids? Shit. We're a very small population. Very small. It's like a subset of, it's like a percentage of a minority being neurodivergent. And then you got a percentage of them that end up like us. That's my thought on that. Music's not too loud, is it? Hopefully. Okay, so, welcome to Schizoid Saturday. So on Schizoid Saturday, that's where I read the submissions that were an attempt at answering a question that I had posited on Wednesday for the schizoids on my schizoid server, which is the Zoid Void. I repeat, the Zoid Void. If you go on Discord, you can find it. We're a community, according to Discord, so you can find us through Discord in the little exploration thing or whatever. So, music good volume? Sweet. Oh, by the way, this music's cool. Another really small channel. I've already, like, set up the algo to feed my indie interests and shit. So here's the channel. This is s.w.gauze with 246 subs. Give them a little love. They got some cool ass music. Very, very fun stuff. Kind of music you would hear in, like, kind of a sort of strange little indie game type shit. Reminds me of, like, the kind of weird music you would hear in, like, those kind of Deltarune, Undertale style games and shit. You know, that kind of deal. It's pretty nice, pretty chill. Upbeat sometimes, ambient other times. I dig it. All right, well, there's a few of you. Good. Okay, so the subject for today on this dark and foreboding evening is therapy. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about therapy a little bit, right? Therapy, hopefully through the schizoid perspective. And I know my perspectives, my experiences. I have been through a good chunk of it. In my case, I think I just got lucky toward the end there. Let's see here. So the question that I posed is as follows. There we go. This is what I asked the schizoids of the server. Can you tell me a time you seriously tried Trid? I always misspell something on those things. Jesus Christ. Seriously tried a therapist. A therapist's, oh my god. A therapist's suggestions, and it had none or the opposite effect of what was intended. Why do you think those methods of therapy felt incompatible or unproductive? Okay. So, one of the things I often hear from the schizoids and read on the server and see on the schizoid subreddit and stuff are people complaining about therapy, right? Bad experiences or no experience, right? Which in and of itself can often be a bad experience. Solar, I suspect therapy is a scam in which a therapist pickpockets and sews back your own watch. That's pretty funny. I'm just imagining them actually like pickpocketing you somehow, taking your shit and like pawning it to their local fence. But so one of the complaints I constantly hear from schizoids about therapy is that a lot of the methods that they use, which are usually kind of CBT, things like that, they aren't very helpful for them, right? They'll have them, try to reconceptualize stuff and read this, read that, right? And oftentimes, the problem, at least from what I've experienced, is that they hear what you say and assume there's some kind of other underlining features that are the real problem, right? When you're literally telling them the actual real problem. And so, because your very real problem is usually unconventional, not literally but figuratively. No, I know solar. I know the saying. I just like to imagine the literal thing. I think it's funny. And so you'll explain something along the lines, or this is my experience with most of my therapists in the past, until this psychologist that finally got me a little bit, was saying stuff like, I don't care about being around most people. I don't understand them. I'm not motivated to participate in what they seem to be really interested in. And usually things end bad because of my lack of interest. And I've had therapists and counselors in the past respond with, do people make you anxious? Or is there, what's going on? Like, what do you think others, or how do others perceive you? Like, and so they tend to start focusing on things like cognitive distortions regarding like my self-esteem and insecurities about like my I'm an acceptable person, that I'm a person, this sort of stuff. Stuff that would be closer to like avoidant attachment, anxious styles, or dismissive styles. That's often too what they'll get me confused with. They'll often think that it's like an avoidant, dismissive style, attachment style. And they'll start kind of trying to provide therapy with that idea in mind, right? Like they're hearing these things I'm saying, and they think I'm like hiding stuff, like, or I'm out of touch with how I really feel, or I'm using them as adaptations to not feel what I'm actually, or deal with what I'm actually anxious about in regards to people, things like that, right? And so they'll have me do certain types of exercises, try to have the conversation go in certain ways. And the main problem is this. Two things are going to happen, in my opinion. You're going to have Zoids that believe the therapist and start like questioning their own understanding of what they do care about, what little aspects of their identity they've been able to piece together internally, and they'll start questioning that and believing that they should be going out more with people and try harder and things like that. And oftentimes that ends very poorly. And if the schizoid doesn't succeed, they'll start believing further and further that they're broken, that they're inhuman, that they're incompatible, right? That's one group. Right? The other group will be very aware of what they're trying to express and very, confident in their understanding of why they have the issues with people that they do. And they'll basically feel dejected, disappointed with even attempting therapy at all. Right? That's kind of my experience for the most part. So I would get these kinds of answers that were incongruent, or these suggestions, or and I've tried people that do the CBT stuff. I've tried people that do more like in the past, like psychoanalysis kind of stuff, style things. And both times it seems to kind of go in this kind of avoidant, dismissive directions. And the schizoid is not an avoidant, dismissive attachment style. That's not exactly what's happening. I can see how it gets confused. But yeah, it's a very different story. If you've heard me talk about all this. So the reason this subject came up in my mind and I found it interesting is because there was a video by Yo something Sam. It's a autistic ADHD YouTuber. She had an interview a while back where she had an autistic therapist, and they were talking about why therapy could be harmful to autists, right? And then it had me thinking, oh, well, I'm of the belief that a lot of schizoids are autists, and a lot of schizoids are schizos, right? Maybe their internal world and thoughts would like fall under highly idiosyncratic, or if they were to express it and more believe it, it was more salient to them, and they weren't able to kind of manage it. They might behave more schizotypal. But in any case, they were basically talking. The autistic therapist was explaining the various types of harm that things like CBT, even DBT, and other kind of forms of therapy could cause an autistic person into spiraling into like a self-destructive view of themselves, right? Like it could fuck with their identity, fuck with their sense of self, question their competency at life, and so on and so forth, right? Because they're being given a neurotypical framework in which they're being pushed to succeed within a neurotypical framework that's incompatible in a neurotypical therapy style. I hear normie therapists, YouTubers giving therapy techniques, but almost none of it connects with my experience or concerns. It's all low-level anxiety, emotionality, over worry, not existential issues. Yeah, that's what's really interesting, is that both the I've noticed there's a lot of existential issues for both the autist and the schizoid. There's usually like a lot of that kind of shit. It's just the direction that the existential issues are coming from will be kind of either very, very much like mortality fears and kind of a nihilism regarding that makes life kind of unbearable and pointless, in combination with their inability to connect to others. That makes things really difficult. And then you have the more existential, kind of more abstract stuff where you would be like me, where I would like wake up in the middle of the night being like having a nightmare about how many colors there are. Like, I kid you not, it was like a reoccurring nightmare where I would wake up, like, imagining the infinitude of color, and that would terrify me, and it would, like, give me an anxiety attack in the middle of the night. It was just like I couldn't, like, I didn't like ideas that I couldn't, like, process in any way because it was too much, and it would, like, eat me up, and yeah. But, you know, that was when I had more of a panic disorder type situation in my 20s. Let's see here. The schizoid is not a dismissive avoidant. Let's edit Wikipedia, which states otherwise. SCPD is associated with dismissive avoidant attachment. Yeah, that's what drives me crazy. Sounds like gaslighting. Yeah. So dismissive avoidant attachment styles are very, very much different. That's what's so interesting is that one of the reasons me and a few others have tried to, like, update and upgrade the application process for the Zoid Void is because of that. It's very easy for dismissive avoidance. Yeah, then just dismissive. Yeah. Dismissive avoidance can have an easy time around schizoids because some of the external behavior might be similar, kind of the aloofness, the kind of like disinterest and intimacy, but it's like it's a little weird. It's a little, the reasoning behind it and behind the dismissing, and it's more of a disinterest than a dismissing that is occurring, right? It's more of a disjointment, disjointed. I think disjointment would be a better word for what's happening with the schizoid than dismissive. Unalignment. It's a good one too. Right. I mean, if you wanna argue why the schizo and schizoid is there, it's because of how divided our experience of, I guess, various social realities are from the regular person. It's a tough time. So anyway, I'm gonna read some of the responses to the question regarding, like, some of those difficulties with therapy that have occurred, right? And if I remember the name of the YouTuber, Yo something Sam, I'll see if I can link the video that talks about how therapy can, like, various forms of therapy can be harmful to autists. And I really do believe it would be the same for the schizospec peeps. More abstract thinkers would probably have the same problem, right? Because it's like, and there's another example of stuff that occurred to me. I'd be like, doctor, I keep having panic attacks about the way my hands are shaped, and and how the, like, evolution and how these digits even came to be, and like all this sort of weird shit. And I would have therapists think that I'm intellectualizing things or misplacing things. Like, oh, the real problem's over here. You're projecting it onto this other thing, and I'm like, no. The actual problem is this. This is scary. How do I manage this fear and discomfort? Please, how do I manage these intrusive, scaling, abstract thoughts that freak me out? Like, how do I work with that? Help. And they didn't know what to do with that, so they would just kind of go with what made sense to them. They're like, what's the real problem here? Let's talk about your mom and dad. Okay, cool. I'm not saying they didn't traumatize me in their own ways, especially my dad, but definitely the source of my fear regarding that is not mom and dad. It's me not being able to have a hold on my thought patterns, and no one relating to them, or being able to have a conversation with anyone around me regarding them. So that can be kind of troubling and traumatic. But hey, what do I know? All right, let's see here. What do we got? First question, well, first answer or submission.
So before we go to that, if I could just, I wanted to say a little something if
Oh
I,
my
if you don't
god, it,
mind.
it better not be some fucking institutional bootlicking.
It is. It
Okay,
is.
then
It's
I
an
don't care
institutional
today. I'm
bootleg.
not. I'm not
Okay.
interested
All right.
today.
All right. All right. Good enough. Good enough.
I get enough of that every goddamn stream from you. All right, we understand. We understand.
Well, I wasn't. I'm not trying to just like bootleg. I mean, I'm just saying like I think that the institutions are trying to get at the problems that you're describing from another way. They're trying to come
Yeah,
at it from another
and
way.
they're doing a poor
So,
job. Anyway,
right. Right.
um,
Yeah, I hear you.
so who cares? Let me see here. Da, 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 da. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so regarding the question and their experiences with therapy, let me start at the top. Let's get some lived experiences up in this bitch. Where is it? Where is it? Why is it not? There we go. I think this is it. Sorry, I got like mixed up on here. There we go. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay, here we go. uh okay. My dear angst, my therapist told me to start getting out and talking to people by going to a Dungeons and Dragons game at my local comic store. I went for a few months, had no change, eventually got bored and left. From the start, he was convinced I was a fairly normal guy who just needed a bit of a push to get out of my comfort zone and start talking to people. He approached my case and he would one of social he approached my case as he would one of social anxiety or young adult stagnation syndrome, which is yas, which is hilarious. It's YASS, yas, um, and completely missed all the core problems. Most therapy is based around prompting introspection or prompting leaving your comfort zone. Zoids already have too much of that in the first, and the second is fruitless without any means of emotionally engaging with the world outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, it's a little like it's funny because like uh social situations don't necessarily cause a lot of schizoids anxiety. They cause usually frustration, various levels of annoyance, disappointment, possibly depression and confusion. But and the anxiety might be there, but it's like not really stemming from, oh, I people are going to judge me, people are going to reject me. That's not. It might be more like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. Why did I put myself in this situation? I'm tired. I'm, feeling anxious. I'm hating this. That's kind of like more of what they would be experiencing. Um, so let me see here. We'll get the next one. Dear Angst, I was believed to have autism at the time. There was a period in my life when I refused social integration strategies because it was simply not something I valued. In hindsight, if the psychologist indulged me and attempted to understand the reasoning for my resistance, perhaps it would have been helpful. In very early therapy, I even followed along with most misconceptions my therapist took on. That's what I was talking about earlier, because it was too much effort to correct them, and I made attempts to create a more typical image of my problems, given how atypical they were. I had seen no social media presence of symptoms like mine. For the most part, though, when I brought up my real problems, I was given no solutions. There are there just are no solutions to I simply don't care and I don't want to, or I have an obscure ideology, or the world doesn't feel real to me. I also had trouble with my psychologist being overly positive normies that wanted optimistic patients with high hopes and great potential. I was not their ideal client. I am not a person that is relatable to them. I feel certain they might have thought I was weird. Um, yeah, I've come across that situation a few times where, literally, like my before my current psych, which I like I said, I think I got really lucky with her, and I think the only reason I got lucky with her is because one, she's just really good at her job, but two, she's super high in openness and highly metacognitive. And that's like the main reason. Like she can imagine a alternative sort of cognitive style and like kind of attempt to compare it to hers and see the alignments of like the discomfort and everything else that'll happen, if she were in a similar situation, right? And so then we have like discussions about those sort of things, and she'll push back in the right ways, which is fucking great. And not bother pushing certain buttons that ultimately are ineffective or have never worked, um, because they're not relevant. Let me see here. And also, yeah, like, uh, that's another interesting thing, the obscure ideology. So, one thing that I noticed that schizoids will do during their hold on, oh, garbage dumpy, why are why's called a garbage dump? What? I don't. Oh wait, I'm reading this all. I missed some chat. It does. It's kind of sound like gaslighting, convinced against. Like, I mean, the therapist still getting it. The thing seems to be that your entire worldview means of reality testing is incompatible with methods they apply. Yours must be disordered because it doesn't match theirs. Yeah, yeah, that's the classic. And so an autist, even one that's not schizoid, or schizo that's not isn't schizoid, they're gonna have these problems communicating, right? This sort of problems and getting any kind of help. They're probably gonna have similar complaints about therapy and what it does, right? When I would try to, oh yeah, here, this is what I was actually going to say. So a lot of schizos will say, "Oh, I spent most of my time," or therapists will complain that they spend most of their time just talking about like various subject matter they're interested in and concerns regarding that subject matter, and like these hyperfixations on certain things and stuff. And they'll keep trying to redirect you back to your life. Streams always start just as UFC cards do. Oh, sorry, good enough. Well, remember, it's going to be a VOD, so you can watch it later. So remember, it's always a VOD. It'll upload to the channel. You go to the playlist, you go to the streams or whatever it is, and all my streams will be there. They're all recorded. So no worries. And so the therapist will keep trying to redirect it back to, oh, your life, who you, and that gets confusing and tiresome because there's plenty, the therapist, if they were to look and attempt to, there's plenty they can discover about the person if they listen to what they're saying about these things, right? um I don't sit there talking to my therapist about things just for fun. I'm usually bringing up things that have been kind of occupying my mind and concerning me, right? And then and I guess it's an attempt at like hoping they can suss something out from what I'm talking about and what these things that are in my mind um are going on, why they're going on and stuff. And when I had them just keep going back to, oh, why do you keep like talking about these things? What is it that you don't want to talk about exactly? Like, how come you're using these sessions to like so on and so forth? Um, and yeah, it's very discouraging. Um, Let me see here. Dear Angst, yeah, I tried the therapist method of going to get a LTR, but it doesn't work because I'm still not fallen in lurg with practical anyone GW. I almost read like a Zoomer speak. I needed some dead ass in there. Let me see here. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what LTR is. So I think I know.
Long term relationship. Fuck.
Oh,
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
I don't speak an acronym.
uh,
So let's see here. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I can imagine if the therapist, it can't even, or doesn't even know how to handle or interpret some of these schizoid core issues and problems and stuff. Attempting to get that person to learn how to attempt a long-term relationship is going to be it's going to be a little bit fruitless. It's not going to really produce much help, say the least. Let me see here. Oh my. Okay, hold on. Holy mother of God. Uh, yeah, I got two really long ones here. One particularly long one. So I'm actually quite excited. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I like the big long ones. There's plenty to work with there and information. Um, and by the way, if anybody in chat has any ideas or wants to express their own experiences pertaining to therapy and being schizoid and all that kind of shit, or even if you don't believe you're schizoid but you're neurodivergent, you've had negative experiences or positive experiences with therapy, I'd like to hear about it. It'd be interesting. Just drop that in chat. Let me look at chat a little bit here. What do we got? Happy Landfill. Yo, yes. I like that. I like Happy Landfill. I mean, I like the name. Sounds cool. Um, what do you think about AVPD arbitrary? Yeah, I've talked about it a bunch of different times. I don't want to get too deeply into it, but it's I have nothing negative to say about it, but it's an entirely different experience from the schizoid for sure. It's AVPD is about rejection sensitivity. Uh, Schizoid PD is not about rejection sensitivity, especially like social rejection sensitivity. Now, can a schizoid be sensitive? Yeah, but usually to very kind of odd things that most people would probably not consider something one would normally be sensitive about, right? Or as concerned with, right? Like, for example, one sensitivity I've noticed that many schizoids possess, not all, some of them get affected by it, but they don't really like feel it because they're a little more, on the alexithymic side of things. Um, is the is people like putting words in their mouth, people getting the words that they do express, and then like inserting their own projections onto it. That can be pretty fucking triggering for a lot of schizoids, and would either piss them off or make them just like dismiss the whole thing and just walk away, just not care, because they already know the script, right? Because it's been a consistent problem, and so I would say that's one of the like core issues as to why they choose isolation is kind of a lot of events that pile up that are kind of that nature. I've had many, 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 many such events, even as a child, and even today. But today I don't care. So that's a nice part. Let me see here. After 30 years, I finally went to a therapist, says Luis Prado. I'm close to just being done with them. Waste of time. Oh my. What's going on in your sessions, Louise? Oh, you're talking to them. I just started ketamine treatment. Oh, interesting. Man, if they got you doing ketamine, yeah, you got some unique problems. See here. I'm probably not schizoid or avoidant, but just an introverted dickhead. You might not be schizoid or avoidant, but you're definitely a schizo solar. Some of the shit you say. I vibe with it, is what I'm saying. Not, let's see. I feel when I was self-medicating with weed, I was better than the prescription drugs I'm currently on. No, I've already talked to Solar Withers Trust. Solar's been around forever. I've spoken to them like I think directly a few times. They've never really like fully like vibed with the whole schizoid thing, but they do vibe with some of the other stuff. Ulterior ulterior motive to be my idea. Oh yeah, that's always great, right? That's another thing. Yeah, that's incredibly triggering to a lot of schizoids too. Yeah, whether like you can tell someone is trying to like manipulate you with either charisma or get them to think what they're thinking or agree with them in like ways that are just like not an argument or emotional appeal, can be really frustrating because it seems so transparently obvious to them. Oh yeah, well, that's one thing that's definitely not gonna manipulating. Maybe that's why therapy doesn't often work because a lot of schizoids are pretty aware of manipulation while it's occurring. You're still obsessed with Hunter x Hunter. Good, you should be. Everyone should be. Billions must watch it. Billions. Um. All right. Next one here. Oh, I just saw Zis showed up. Hi, Zis. Um. So let me see here. Hope you're doing good, Zis.
Hanging in there.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Uh, um, let me see here. And next one, here's a big, long response. Dear Angst, pay attention, everybody. First time I properly engaged with a therapist was a total fucking disaster. The default starting point for the therapist is generally to establish rapport and safety in the space, and so exactly what this particular therapist that's exactly what this particular therapist did. The problem was that I had no capacity at the time to form legitimate safety with anybody, not even in therapeutic settings. If I was to interact with someone in normal life, I feel unsafe on a deep fundamental level that would trigger maladaptive protective behaviors like subjugation, detachment, or masking in a misguided attempt to mitigate that perceived danger. The therapist helped me realize I was doing that, which is great. But instead of helping me to learn to feel safe and learn how to prevent any maladaptive protective behaviors activating at all, she instead inadvertently inserted herself as a new mummy figure and encouraged the use of the novel type of maladaptive protective behavior I labeled as helpless dependence. Basically, I developed a stronger ability to be assertive, honest, and set boundaries in the space, but the caveat was that it was built upon a foundation of requiring her preemptive permission first. Trusting others to support you is great. Being helplessly dependent on others to provide preemptive permission for you disagree with them is an insane tactic for maintaining relationships. Doesn't matter if it's the kindest person in the world, you simply cannot maintain a functional equal relationship when you are dependent on the other party to give you permission to disagree with them, or even perhaps dependent on them to represent you and your wants and needs against themselves and their own wants and needs. I was out of ideas myself at the time, so I trusted her guidance and attempted to expand that behavior into real world as she instructed, and it just got me totally fucked over. Just a vicious cycle of meek dependency based self expression, refusal and dismissal by the other party, expressing the pain of that experience to the therapist, being comforted by the therapist, being told that it wasn't my fault and that it was the other person being an asshole, another round of meek dependency based self expression and rejection, repeat until I worked it out, told the therapist her treatment was detrimental to my rehabilitation and terminated the therapy. The whole period hurt quite a bit, and I'm justifiably still extremely reluctant to take any advice from any therapists. I'll take new I'll take new therapist advice on board and strongly consider it, but the default is that they are full of shit and almost certainly totally incompetent treating schizoid patients. Well, and that's like, I'm not going to hate on the therapist for being incompetent because that's not something that's like really taught. Most PDs aren't like deeply taught. It's kind of like, they'll take courses on like abnormal psychology and things like that, and it's not usually what most therapists are built to handle is personality disorders, much less neurodivergency in combination with a personality disorder. Then yeah, then you just got like a fucking I don't know what you would call that, double scoop. Uh, don't allow anyone to pickpocket your metaphorical watch this solar. Let me see here, but yeah, it's it's kind of weird. I kind of vibe with what some of the parts that they're saying right there. That weird kind of because I used to, when I was in my 20s, I used to have like a more I was a much more meek schizoid, so it was more of like um why am I going to fight back? Why am I going to disagree? They don't, these people don't listen. They don't care. They keep making these mistakes. I try to like be reasonable. I try to be civil. I try to explain why this and that. They misconstrue it. They assume otherwise. I can't explain. I can't express like my sense of humor. I can't laugh at certain things because they'll assume other things that are incorrect about them. I can't talk about certain subjects because they'll assume I'm in favor or against certain subjects, and that will get them emotionally responsive. And so like I would just be meek in the sense that I would just like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, 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 you're right. Yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. And it was kind of more like that. And And you know, being taught to be assertive in this kind of like non-aggressive way can just all it's usually going to do is like cause someone like that a lot of discomfort and problems. I tried it, kind of being like, oh, you know, but how about we like talk about this? And oh, well, what if we approach it like that? I don't know. And I would try that kind of shit, and yeah, it would backfire or just piss me off because I felt like I was wasting my time with people, and shit like that. Um, I didn't really I didn't become more aggressive until my 30s, and yeah, it's a far more effective. And when I say aggressive, I don't mean like be a dick. It's more like tactical dickness, depending on the situation, the circumstances, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do the reasonable route. Oh, that's not working because they don't want to listen or they're just construing what I'm saying. Okay, time to be a little bit of an asshole. And the cool thing is, if they reject me or think I'm I'm a bad person, the benefit is I don't care. Um, and so like I legitimately do not care, and that's good. Because they're already like working in bad faith in many ways when I'm attempting to just reach a mutual win-win scenario, right? And so yeah, yeah, it's sometimes effective at making them like shut up and listen for a minute at what it is I'm actually trying to say. And yeah, I don't know, but I kind of vibe with some of the difficulties that come with that. They seem to share similar ideology in early attachment injury, but Zoids probably start from a different temperament, or maybe a scar over the wound. I have some symptoms of both. Says Don. Okay. Oh, my music's gone. I don't like that. I want music. Let's go with whatever this is. This is whatever the algo fed me. Something called OX Girl Food. 118 subs. I love my algorithm now. It's so just absolutely crazy. Um, Hold on a second here. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm listening to right now. Luis Prado. Wait, above that, I think there was. Oh, yeah, Luis Prado. Dude, I just subscribed after watching your interview. After 30 plus years, I couldn't figure out what was up with me. I eventually self diagnosed myself. Based. Yeah, one of the things that will always stick with me when it comes to self-diagnosis and the schizoid is when, you know, years ago when I had first interviewed and talked to Eleanor Greenberg, she said that like she found that the schizoid, and I've heard it from like two different psychologists, that the schizoid tends to do a pretty damn good job of self-diagnosing, because you know, that's all they're doing all the time is introspecting on a variety of things and themselves and their existence. And so, yeah, when you're trapped in your own mind in many ways, you tend to have a pretty good handle on what the fuck it is that's going on, and what not necessarily what you feel, but often what you do and what your behaviors are and what your actions are motivated by. Pretty good at that. Pretty decent and accurate. But good, Lise. Glad you joined up and you're watching. Okay. I felt like I had some other shit to say. Before I read I got two more. I got a short one and a long one. Submissions regarding therapy, schizoids, and you know, their interactions with therapy and difficulties and such. If you like the channel, if you like what I do, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Pound it, smash it. Just, you know, whatever. Click it if you want. Upvote it because that helps and stuff. And if you want to support my work, Patreon is like your best bet. PayPal direct if you don't want to deal with Patreon. Donations like that are helpful, so I appreciate it. And if any of you out there know anybody that runs like a bigger mental health channel, is interested in the subject, and hook me up, network me up. I doubt any of you do. Can you recommend Spotify playlists? Not off the top of my head. I don't use Spotify, so like I'll be honest. Most of my music I just listen to like I guess what would be YouTube music or some bullshit. I don't really. I just click on. I literally just click on like what the algo gives me. That's like low sub count, weird, fucking based on my strange clicking and subs, and I'll find shit and then I'll like add it to my own personal playlist of stuff that I like. So I don't really do the whole like Spotify playlist thing or all that kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just I don't know, never been a thing for me. Alright, so here we go. Next one. Dear Inks, when I was in grade 4 or slightly earlier, the new school I moved to made me see the counselor because I wasn't getting my social needs met. And she turned out to be a blonde Karen who told me to be more positive. When I tried it, it made socializing feel so horrible that from then on I spent daycare reading high school textbooks about chemistry and astronomy by myself instead. Whenever my fellow realist friends weren't around, the new school had K through 12 on one campus, so I checked them out of the library. There you go. 4th grade spent reading some high-level literature. Now, I was never a big STEM guy, but I definitely in 4th grade I was like reading at a significantly higher level, and I was more of a fiction and stories and narrative guy, obviously a horror guy, and so yeah, I used to do stuff like trick my mom, and like, cause she was like one of the reasons I read so much. Well, I would have done it anyway, but she gave me access to a lot of books because she was of the belief, you know, she came from like Costa Rica, and like she didn't have much of an education, so she was of the belief that a good education in college and reading and stuff like that is like gonna make her son have a good life or whatever. You know, I can't fault her for, you know, having those beliefs, all things considered. And so but I would kind of exploit that a little bit, not in some asshole sort of way, but I knew that like there were certain things that morally she would like be against because she was, you know, quite the Catholic mommy. And so I would be like, oh, I like this book, it's about aliens and it's kind of scary, but it's not too scary, but it's long and I like to read. And she'd be like, oh yeah, what is it, you know, in Spanish or whatever. I'd be like, oh, it's called Tommy Knockers, you know. So I'd be getting like Stephen King, Clive Barker books, you know, because the covers were usually like weird abstract things that weren't like obvious that it was gonna be like, it was gonna have like weird shit and like sex shit and like all this violence and fucked up stuff. And so yeah, I was reading pretty advanced books in 4th and 5th grade. And my mom is funny because like my mom was just like really proud. She would tell people like, oh, my kid reads like such big books and he's such a reader and he's so smart. And I'm like, oh mom, if you knew what I was reading, holy shit. Angst, I don't have a connection or anything, but maybe contact all neurotypes office, autistic creator, and Dr. Becky Spellman. They both feature atypical psychologies. Well, if you're on the server, link me up. If you're not, email me the links or something, because if you just drop them in here, they're gonna get lost to time. There's like a lot of people I want to contact, and there's a lot of people I've tried to contact for interviews and conversations. Over the summer, I haven't done any work, guys. I apologize for that, only because like, you know, some of you guys have been supporting me still on Patreon and everything and boosting the server and shit like that. I haven't really been putting out much but streams. So my volition is coming back because summer is ending. So you're going to see probably, hopefully, far more content. I'm currently in the process of trying to connect with like 3 or 4 different people that are in the kind of therapy. Some of them are YouTube peeps, some of them are like therapy peeps. And it's hard, man. It's hard. Like I'll read like a really good abstract or actual paper if I have access to it, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna try to contact like the 2 doctors who wrote this, and it kind of sucks sometimes because like they'll have no socials, and I have to attempt to call their office, and nobody answers. And if I leave a message about like, hey, I'm a YouTuber and I want to talk to you, you know, like obviously not like that. It doesn't really like. interest a lot of people. A lot of these people that write these papers are oftentimes kind of introverted themselves. I mean, they're fucking, you know, and so they probably don't want to record anything. So I'll mention that, like, we don't have to record anything. We can just have a conversation, and then if you're okay with me saying that we had a conversation, I can use a pseudonym, whatever you want, or it could just be vocal and no video. Like, and it's hard, man. It's really hard. They usually just leave me on red, and then like don't contact me at all or anything, and I'm like, okay. Or they contact me and then explain to me why they're not really gonna do that, or they'll contact me and say they're interested, and then from that point forward leave me on red. So it's pretty tough, right? It's really tough trying to get people to listen. And I'll even send them links to the videos where I like talk, so they can say, look, I'm reasonable and chill. I don't know. I don't know. Some of them are just like not, they don't want to be like on, so like they're probably just, some of them are just boomers and they're scared of like a rando on the internet. And I try my best to show them, look, I'm not just some random, it's a thing I do. Look at these things I've done, these streams I do where I talk about things. And I don't know, maybe they watch something where I said a bad word or it was a little too crass. And so then they're like, uh-oh, he's a bad man. He says the naughty things. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to continue saying the naughty things because that is who the fuck I am. I can't change that, and I will never change who I am, because I finally discovered over the last few years who the fuck I am and what I'm about. And I'm not going to change that for anything in the world. So, yes, Angst is a very naughty man. Very naughty man. Thankfully, I'm not the kind of naughty man that, like, pieces of shit that, like, say all this positive crap on the internet and then they find out they're fucking, they store CP on their fucking computers and shit. You gotta learn to channel your inner Tony Robbins angst. Throw the Monty Hall sales pitch at them. No, I can be really chill, like, and talk and be really. I think I'm a pretty nice guy, and I don't have to try to be. I just think that's just my temperament. I'm pretty chill, and I like civil conversation. I like good faith combos. I don't like gotchas or any of that shit. It's fucking stupid. Bunch of gay ops and crap like that. No, it's not stupid. But I am crass and I am blunt, and oftentimes that could be a problem for some people. Maybe they're just not interested in talking about PD. More like they're tolerating it to begin with. Well, I mean, they wrote like a fucking research paper on it, so I would assume it'd be like there was like one guy that would like no, there's been a couple of times where I had a hold of them and they're like from Europe and they don't speak English. I'll be like, damn it. Like there was one guy who wrote a really cool thing, but he's like Italian and he doesn't speak a lick of English. And I'm like, oh man, rough. Shit like that. So, all right, went on and on about that enough. But yeah, here, last one, last of the submissions, at least. Dear Angst, my first therapist pre-diagnosis kept asking me about my goals. Like if I started to talk about any topic, he'd interrupt pretty soon and ask what goal I was trying to achieve by talking about whatever it was. I think it was existentialist therapy technique. It probably works well with normies. Many of my topics were, as it turned out much later with a different therapist, super fucking important. Yeah. Right? They were key to unlocking my condition. They were superzoid topics, but I didn't have any goal in mind while talking about them. I was actually goal averse. I was just trying to sort of dig through things and maybe find either what was wrong or what I could do to improve something. Yes, I totally vibe with that. Hold on, my littlest one is telling me goodnight. All right, I'm back. Yeah, just my if you watch my streams around 8 o'clock, my 4-year-old will come in and want to give me a hug and kiss, and find safety and comfort in my visage before they go to sleep.
You're breaking up some.
Oh yeah, yeah, son. What the fuck? Anyway, yeah, it should be fine. Sorry, my microphone, for some reason, when I unmute it, it sounds a little stupid for a second, but I think it should be good now. No, I was saying my 4-year-old usually comes out, if you watch my streams at 8 for like a minute. I always have to like close it, and because I don't want them on camera and stuff, and say goodnight and that kind of shit, and really cute and adorable. And, yeah. Anyway. It's funny. I bet like the fact that I have like a family turns off a bunch of like schizoids. They're like, oh, this guy's a fucking grifter. He must be a grifter. Dude, I've been called a grifter before for like schizoid stuff, and it's really rare. It's really rare, and I just think it's the funniest shit in the world, because this would be literally the worst fucking grift imaginable. It's like the worst grift ever. Is it a Discord issue? Okay, it might just be a Discord issue, because it says it's Shadow's saying it's fine on stream. Joe Mama. These therapists don't give a fuck about us. Yeah, X confirmed worst grifter. Yeah, I'm the worst grifter. I'm just trying to take all the money out of schizoid pockets. Everyone knows how loaded they are. You're functional. Ew. Yeah, it would. Yeah, well, like, even when I had my first kid, and even when I was already married, I was still not, like, I was far less functional than I am now. I am far more functional. I used to be pretty, I would say I was a far more useless to my wife in a variety of places. I was never, like, abusive or anything like that, but I was probably a lot more emotionally useless, as well as kind of my depression and stuff would just make me pretty like lazy and what's the word, bitchy, like about having to go places, do things, and essentially spend time out with the fam, which I can now enjoy. Because I know where that stuff is stemming from. I knew it getting that Russian schizoid money. Yeah, dude. Yeah, my biggest schizoid follower is Vladimir Putin. And you guys know he's a secret covert schizoid, and he funds all my research. 100K per video, yeah. Please, I need you to produce more schizoid video. You will help me angst. Very good. Taking lessons from autism advocacy group, thanks. Hell yeah. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of weird grifting in the autism YouTube world. But it's not like all of them. There's some grifters out there, but they're autistic, but they're still grifting. Like, in the sense that, like, they're like really leaning into shit that they shouldn't be. That is kind of harmful. That they probably don't even apply to their own lives. No, I know. They're autists themselves, but I don't think they are being always honest about their opinions about stuff. That kind of grifting. Like, where they're like super, super over the top, what's the word, non-questioning about like anyone and everything's self-diagnosis, and it's like, it sounds like you just want a big audience so you make money, because I understand, because if you're an autist, like, what better option is there than be self-employed, right? So I get it, but still icky sometimes. My experience based non-questioner. My experience has been that schizoids need to take a lot of responsibility over their treatment plan and direction. That's not something most therapists can tolerate, let alone be comfortable with. Oh yeah, that's what's cool. My psychologist lets me do that. Like when I tell my psych, this thought is fucking me up this week, and it's like something about something I saw on the news that I like started like mulling over, and then I start getting this feeling like like the agony of the world is like being like injected into my veins or something. Like she won't hear that and try to like normie it up. She'll just kind of work with the conditions that I'm providing, because I'm not just making it up. I'm not lying about this shit. So and then that makes her so much more helpful. She'll like ground me pretty well on certain things, and help support my non-spiraling to like massive depressions and shit like that, right? And yeah, it's pretty cool. What was it last time? I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, here, this is a crazy update about my psych. A little invasive information about myself. Yeah, I'm currently, she's trying to help me tie together the how my like actual like childhood trauma shaped my beliefs pertaining to, in association with the way I think about stuff and my cognitive profile. So like it's basically going, okay, so what is the concern this week? And a lot of the time my concerns are about unproductive suffering, right? Like that's something that just like really affects me. Wait, I thought you meant stealing content. Oh, they just steal content? I don't know about that. But and so I'm trying to like figure out, okay, like why is it that this particular issue, like, like why do I want to help the schizoids? Why do I care so much about this problem? Why, like, what of that? Like, even though it causes me some grief and stress, like why do I care? And all this sort of shit. And like, why is it that this week I'm all tore up about something I saw on the news regarding like neurodivergency and stuff, and like errors that are being made regarding this sort of shit, and it just kind of like coming down to stuff like, even like the weird big meta concerns I have like are coming down to like, I don't want other people to go through this hell, and I kind of want to avoid that as a concept. Like I want to like reduce the amount of this thing happening in general, right? So it's like I want to kill. It was kind of cool. We were connecting it to like a way of like trying to retcon my like past or something, like through that medium of like, oh, like it'll alleviate some of those wounds that I possess, that are, because of the nature of them, because they're often so meta in my mind, I can't directly alleviate them by thinking about myself and how I handle it and shit like that. I legitimately have to do something to work toward the actual problem, even in the most minor fashions, in order to put a bit of a salve on that wound. One particularly being like CSA type shit that happened to me, so, and a lot of other things associated with that. But in any case, let me read. Oh, I already read the last one. I think that's it. Well, those are all the hold on, let's see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, one thing I do want to say about that last one about like not being goal oriented with the therapy or whatever. What's interesting is that I think when I was younger, especially when I would go to therapy and just start talking about all this shit in my head, I was hoping like, oh, these guys are professionals. They can figure out why the shit's in my head the way it is. Obviously, that was not the case. But aspects of it, like why is this, like why can't I control this part of my mind? How come I have no say in how my mind processes this or approaches this? Like what advice do you have? Shit like that is what I was like trying to get out of it. So interesting. So, oh yeah, another cool thing my psychologist does is she'll get slightly more, I guess would be experimental types of therapeutic stuff, or even conventional stuff, and then we'll shape it together. We'll like shape it into things that make sense to me in my mind, right? And so then we'll use the methods, we'll use the methods that seem effective, and then we'll kind of she'll help me like integrate it into my thinking style and stuff. And so then when that happens, I'm able to actually use the tool. That's here. I want to end it on a positive note. Okay, so which I don't always. The positive note is if you go to a therapist, right? And this is just my armchair. Okay, I'm not professional. If you have a therapist and you suspect or you already know you're a schizoid, right? And you're still dealing with stuff like depression and anxiety and other stuff, right? Go to therapy to find strategies to manage the symptoms, right? Not to fix all the core problems, right? Because that's going to be a lot harder to find somebody that can help you with that, right? So manage the symptoms. Find methods that are available, methods they suggest, repurpose them, reverse engineer them, and apply them to yourself in ways that you deem effective, and you see progress happening when using them. That's what I had to do, and it was quite the process because I didn't have any help, but it was very effective. But I don't want it to take like fucking 20 years like it took me. Right? Hopefully you guys can do it in 5 or some shit less. Shut the fuck up, Withers. Like an idiot. I'm available at 1K per sesh. Jesus Christ. They ain't got money. In any case, yeah. So do that. That's I did a video a while back on therapy pertaining to that. That's my armchair advice for the schizoids out there. Just figure out what you can alleviate symptom-wise so that you have more volition and energy and aren't like just crippled, depressed, or anxious, or just like find ways to like manage the apathy. All kinds of shit like that is probably your best bet. Tackle those issues because chances are, as someone that's schizoid, you are going to have to be your own therapist. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's expensive. Therapists are absurdly expensive if you don't have insurance. It's fucking crazy. And it just ends up being like a huge waste of money for a lot of schizoids. Because they end up going to a ton of fucking sessions only to like get dropped because the therapist doesn't think it's going anywhere. It's like, oh cool, thanks. But yeah, anyway, so you do that, especially if you have insurance or coverage, use it for those purposes. The best other piece of advice I have for doing that self-help, because like I said, it's going to be kind of mostly on your own on this one, because of like just institutional conditions for how it's approached and dealt with. I also suggest you do stuff. You don't have to join my server, though it would be great. You do stuff like listen to people that experience the same things. Talk to them on places like my server. Try the subreddit. I'm not a big fan of the subreddit because there's no vetting process. So you got a lot of dismissive avoidance and all kinds of stuff in there. And all kinds of people just like also doing this weird shit where like if you don't like fit all the symptoms like they do, they think like, oh, you're not a real schizoid and shit like that. It's fucking weird. And so my point is lurk. Like, I'm not saying you have to go out there, oh, talk to us. Lurk. See how the conversations flow. On the server, you'll see the conversations. Sometimes they're jovial and stupid and absurd. Other times they're very serious, philosophical. Other times they're just kind of very, very unhappy. But there's also polls on there that you can answer. There's a lot of people asking questions, and you'll see like a good chunk of people like, yep, that's my experience. And it's kind of helpful to see like, this is my experience. I feel isolated in this, like legitimately, because I can't find very many people or information on this experience. And then you'll see like, 30 other people go, yeah, that's my experience as well. That alone is really helpful. That's like a really good first step, is being able to see that. And I know it was like it was my first step. Even though obviously I hadn't created the server by then, but like 3+ years ago, my first step was finding out, getting the diagnosis, right? Finding out about it, getting the diagnosis, getting my psych to diagnose me, and then me being the stubborn fuck that I am, I was like going online trying to find more information, YouTube, wherever, and I'm like, I'm not finding shit. Like, what the fuck? I was reading the wiki, and I'm like, I mean, this is interesting, but like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I have no one to discuss this with that has the same experiences or even understands it really, except a bunch of fucking people that aren't experiencing it trying to supposedly help me with it. And so I had made the channel, and I started just ranting and raving like a fucking maniac in the first videos. Very different person even then. And just kind of like angsty and pissed off and just trying to explain my situation. And then I started seeing an occasional Zoid, I guess they would find the channel because they're trying to look for answers like I did, and then going, wow, all the shit you said about your experience, like a lot of it resonates with me. That's kind of what I'm feeling, like this kind of feeling of like fucking a fish out of water in the world. Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And it's less about like, I'm afraid of rejection. And so seeing those responses, those comments initially gave me that feeling of like, holy shit, there are others. And so the internet allows for that. And honestly, just that discovery, and then eventually maybe leading up to a few chats, you're gonna have back and forths of like, oh, I'm gonna revert back, get in the trenches, because a thing happened that reminds me of the fucking things that always happen when I try to communicate with people, and then you poke back in. Like, I have Zoids that leave and come back and leave and come back on the server on a regular basis. That's fucking fine by me. I don't give a shit. Once you apply and you're in, you just have to like tell us, oh, I already applied and I was already in, and we'll just let you back in if you're the type that needs to like fucking leave or something because you're getting like, I don't know, engulfed or some shit. But in any case, sorry I'm talking a lot about this. It's just that there's like 21 of you right now, so I figure take advantage. Yeah, there's also a no reply section on there where you can just post, like, vent about your, like, this awful shit that sometimes you deal with, and people aren't allowed to reply except for like emotes. So that's like somewhere where you can put your experiences, and then people just use little emotes, but that's it. Like, there's no reply that's being made, so you don't have to hear somebody like give you advice or tell you they feel sorry for you or any of that kind of shit. That might be like frustrating. And there's also a no reply happy day, which is basically when you're have a good moment, you can put it on there and nobody is going to reply to that either. I haven't worked for 1.5 months, dude. I don't know where I'm going. Yeah, man, it's not uncommon. So yeah, check it out, please. Lurk and chat, and eventually even VC. You can actually join the VC. Speaking of VC, after the stream, I usually just hang out in the this channel on there that's in the annex, so anybody can get into it, because there's sections of the server that they're open to the public, which is the annex channels. I usually hang out in there and play video games, and if people want to talk about whatever, if I have the energy for it, I will. That's basically it. Cool. Hope to see some of you there, or the ones that are there and lurk. Hope to see you more active. You might discover surprisingly, that there's safety there. And no one's going to try to be attach themselves to you or be your friend. If friends do occur in that place, and they have for me, it's taken a while, but I have them. They're based on very specific parameters and understandings that are mutual and function extremely well that way. And it's pretty awesome, I've got to say. All right. See you schizos and autists later. As usual, when day is dark, always remember happy day. I'll play us out with a little tune. I'm gonna find a little tune or something I feel like listening to and play it out. Peace, guys.
Did we cut?
Hello?
There's Magenta.